It's official. Hytale is available for pre-order today, and it also has a release date. On January 13th, 2026, the game will release in early access. For those of you who aren't watching this video on the day it comes out, check that calendar. You can definitely order it, but you also might be able to play it. The community's excitement cannot be understated. One look at social media and you can see everybody replying to Simon's, Hytale's, and any other dev's post about, well, anything. On the other side of the coin, though, there are a lot of skeptics. Because, let's be honest, the internet can find anything to complain about. But do they have a point? In this video, knowing what we know, we plan to have a serious chat about Hytale coming out years after it was supposed to, especially compared to Minecraft and after our interview with Simon. And speaking of Simon wants us, the community, to be honest with this game's story of trailer release, being sold to Riot, basically radio silence, Simon reacquiring the game, and now coming out nearly 7 years later. There are a lot of good, bad, and everything in between that we can talk about for when this game comes out in January. It's our job to educate the masses, and we want to be fair to the community so they have a better idea as to what they're buying, and so we can give our opinions to the people making this game. If you're convinced to buy Hytale after watching this video, or you just feel like supporting me, please consider using creator code AntVenom, as it helps us out quite a lot at no additional cost to you when you buy the game. Our opinion cannot be bought, but we do genuinely want to see this game succeed. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is really simple. Minecraft does not need to die for Hytale to succeed. A lot of people, and I really mean a lot, heck, even ourselves over 6 years ago, dubbed Hytale a potential Minecraft killer. However, despite the fact that it's a really good YouTube title and that's about it, a lot of people have taken it upon themselves to say that Minecraft is going down because of Hytale's upcoming release. From Minecraft's side, a lot of people say that Hytale cannot possibly beat Minecraft, and there's no point in it even being released. Without a shadow of a doubt, both of these arguments are flawed. The more block games the genre has, the more everybody has to play with. Instead of sitting here and complaining that somebody's cake might be more attractive and bigger than yours, if you're one of those people, why don't you sit back, grab a bigger plate, and chow down on everything that is in front of you. You might not know what's underneath that frosting, but odds are it's cake. And who doesn't like cake? And especially two cakes. If we're also being honest with ourselves, more competition in the space is never a bad thing. And historically, when multiple products are competing for consumers' attention, and more importantly their wallets, it typically benefits the consumer and the community overall, especially in gaming. Let's start this thing off with easily the biggest knock against Hytale on release day. The game is not finished at all. The game is notably gonna be missing its adventure mode. For Hytale, this mode was a core piece of marketing in their original trailer. Flipping games like Minecraft on its head, it turns a traditional, non-linear, randomly generated sandbox experience into a quest-based RPG system with a story to follow and multiple worlds to explore. We saw bits of this in the trailer, however, the idea of a cohesive and complete adventure mode will just not be here 7 years later, at least not initially. The main mode that players will be experiencing is the exploration mode, which will show off interesting world generation above and below ground, alongside some isolated scenarios that will give you a feel of where things are going. This will be similar to Minecraft's standard survival mode. The world generation is the first version, not the more impressive second version, and more things we'll get into soon. In Simon's words, when I say Hytale is not good enough, I genuinely mean it. It's not some reverse psychology trick. In a pretty long tweet on Twitter, he talks about how they're developing the game using a 4-year-old build with over 300 branches of prototypes, and there are barely any game progression mechanics configured, and they need to implement them all in record time to make it somewhat enjoyable. He says he's confident that the game will be okay for release, but those are the cards that they've been dealt. The game is fun, but He wishes that he had more time to get a few more features to the players, but instead of letting the game continue to sit in development hell like so many other games that die on the vine, it's time to break the curse and fix it as it comes. Minecraft does not have that problem, but it used to. Minecraft became a cultural phenomenon pretty early on, but by the time the game really exploded in popularity beyond its beta phase, there were quite a few features to keep people entertained, and it had a cohesive, albeit simple progression system. On top of that, multiplayer has always done a lot of the heavy lifting for Minecraft. Whether or not that will apply to Hytale remains to be seen, but Simon is confident in Hytale's future, and so are we. Now that we've talked about what's arguably one of Hytale's biggest problems for day one, let's talk about one of the best features I've ever seen in a game. Hytale's creative mode looks unmatched, flat out. In a 27-minute video published on the Hytale channel, they show off an amazing suite of creative mode gameplay features, with everything from a robust sculpting tool, some pretty sweet prefab brushes with impressive masking tools, a built-in machinima camera system, model viewers with a system where you can play as other mobs, general drawing tools. They're all great. If it couldn't get any better, they also have built-in documentation purely to show off how commands in the game work. When it gets really special is around the 15-minute mark. After being shown how to place down some shapes with different materials and how to paint on them, they do this interesting trick where it looks like they're turning on chunk borders, almost like Minecraft, but you slowly realize that these aren't chunk borders, but are instead a 2D plane that they've created out of thin air, allowing for you to write in the sky without needing to even place blocks behind it to draw on. They can push that border wherever they need to, and just when you think it couldn't get any cooler, they start to rotate the plane on the X, Y, and Z axis. To put it as simply as possible, this one feature is cool enough, but in conjunction with everything else, this is where Hytale really shines. It's a serious creative suite. It's very clear that Hytale's in-game tools were developed by a group of people who ran a Minecraft server, used a bunch of different tools and mods, and really just looked at what they had and said, man, I wish we had all of these features. Oh, and I wish we had a bunch of features that no other mod offers. Oh, and let's bake it all into the vanilla game. To do anything like this in Minecraft, you would need a whole bunch of mods like World Edit, Axiom, Lightmatica, and the list goes on and on. Hytale is being developed by a group of people who are clearly passionate about these tools and how they can be used. I think the wider community will really take notice of that on day one. Alright, this one's a bit of a tricky discussion, but let's try it out. Modding. A lot of people will sit here and tell you that there is no Minecraft without modding, and for a lot of people's playstyle, that can be completely true. One massive downside to Hytale at launch will be an immediate lack of mods, at least compared to Minecraft. The good thing is that it seems Hytale will be pretty modder friendly. In a blog post on Hytale.com, Slikey, the technical director of the game, gave a pretty lengthy chat about modding and its status in Hytale. In their words, our goal is that anything we can do, you can do as well. They also listed a few key principles that guide them. Number 1, server-side first. Hytale believes that you should be able to jump into a server without downloading external mods and packs. You should also be able to create a single-player save and select the mods that you want to use for that save file. Pretty good. Number 2, one community, one client. They want to avoid an ecosystem like Minecraft, where every server requires a different modded client. They don't intend to support any client mods, so the client remains stable, secure, and consistent, while servers provide the creativity and variation. Number 3, modding for longevity. They're committed to modding for the long term. They believe modders have been looking for a project that doesn't just tolerate them, but embraces and supports them. Number 4, empowering modders without exposing players. Hytale wants modders to benefit from their work and build a future that they can rely on with as much freedom as possible without exposing players to the security and safety risks that exist on some other modding platforms. Hytale's modding structure really seems to be focused on allowing the players to use their tools to create within the game, as opposed to Minecraft's modding structure being a code around our game kind of approach. The pure addition of Hytale's Hytale's live scripting seems to be evidence of this. In a video posted on Twitter, Hytale showed off one of their developers making a mob that previously wasn't rideable. They also uploaded an entire video showing off them using Hytale's asset editor to create a portal using the same tools that all players and modders will have access to. Where Hytale's devs will draw the line on what modders are able to do with their system is yet to be seen, however. For any given feature that you could imagine a modder wanting to be able to modify, the answer as to how much you'll actually be able to modify will exist somewhere on the spectrum of it's possible and it's not possible. Some things will very obviously be possible, like modifying a mob, but some things modders may want the ability to modify might not be possible, like recreating the cubic chunks mod or other extreme modifications to the game, and that's going to cause tension. How much tension it'll cause will be determined by how limited the system ultimately winds up being. The way in which Hypixel Studios reacts to those real desires of modders over time will be incredibly important. And if modders in Hytale feel like they're blocked in by its tools rather than empowered, we'll see how they react as well. One of the conversations that I've seen talked about the most is what platforms will Hytale be playable on for release. To put it simply, it's just Windows. That's it. And not even available on Steam at release, which around the time of this video has been an absolutely hot button topic that's gotten a lot of people up in arms. The game will be put out on its own launcher by Hypixel. The release date for Linux and Mac ports is still to be determined, but undoubtedly coming. There will also not be a console port for quite some time. There also will be no mobile version of Hytale for early access. For Minecraft fans who want to play the game, that's really unfortunate, assuming that 80% of people who bought Minecraft are Bedrock users, and assuming at least 50% of those people are playing on mobile, that's a massive audience who cannot play the game. Of the at least 140 million people who play Minecraft on their phones or some other mobile device, how many of them have a computer good enough to play Hytale? My guess is not a large percentage. No matter the case, people will want to play this game on devices other than a computer in due time, and how quickly Hytale gets around to making that a reality will undoubtedly affect how well Hytale sells over time. Given that Hytale's client is Java-based, I'm unsure what approach Hypixel Studios will take in making the game multi-platform. Will they want to have multiple code bases? Or, in my opinion, and this is just food for thought, they should look into the viability of creating a translation layer that allows for the Java version to run on mobile devices. This approach has evolved a lot in just the past 5 years, with the biggest example that I can name being the Proton layer that allows for Windows games to run on the Linux-based Steam Deck. There's no doubt that getting a Java-based game to run on different CPU architectures would be tricky, but using Minecraft as an example, the Pojav launcher allows for Java Edition to run on Android phones, and with enough finagling, it can run on iPhones as well. I'm unsure how truly viable this approach is, but it is possible, and given how powerful modern mobile devices are now, it's more viable than ever. So again, food for thought. I think another very important thing to note about Hytale is that the project is so hyped up. For a lot of people, there's no way that it could possibly live up to their expectations. People have said over and over for years that Hytale is coming and it's going to be great, and no matter what, it'll leave people wanting more. Another great example of this in gaming is like Grand Theft Auto 6. It's been talked about, avoided, leaked, announced, trailer drops, pushed back, trailer drops, pushed back, and now we've built it up for so long, like, can it deliver on expectations? Usually the chocolate you've waited for tastes better, but in Hytale's case, they're telling you that it's going to be bitter. And here's the most critical example of that. I know I've already mentioned it, but adventure mode will not exist on release. The world as it's initially presented will be fun to explore and experience in a survival mode sense, but there won't be a coherent quest or well-balanced progression system out of the gate, so that's gonna leave the would-be Hytale addicts yearning for more within just a few days. Given this dilemma, here's the way I see things going for the game beyond day one. People are going to enjoy the heck out of the game as it's initially presented, but the lack of adventure mode will have the casual enjoyers done with the game within a few weeks. Obviously, there will be diehard players who continue playing for months even without any new content, but I'm talking about the majority here. As player interest wanes, what remains to be determined will be how frequent Hypixel Studios will actually update the game with new content, and just as importantly, how quickly will engaging custom content get released by an excited creator community. I do fear that Hytale will struggle to retain a long-term player base if either of these concerns manifest significantly, but this problem also exists on a gradient of future possibilities, and it's very possible that one or neither of these concerns will turn into a problem at all. It's just something to look out for. The Hypixel Studios team is committed to updating the game for at least 10 years, so even if this problem manifests early on, there's a good chance that the problem will go away within a year or two. Only time will tell. While we could sit here and continue to rattle off more pros and cons, I think we've really said a lot here already. One topic we did not really touch on is whether or not Hytale will have a system like Minecraft's Redstone, and Simon has said that Hytale will be going down a different path. So will that be an issue? Time will tell. It's up to the community in the days after Hytale's release to determine what issues are the most important, and it'll be up to Hypixel Studios to respond accordingly. If you're convinced that you want to buy the game, consider using our creator code, because it'll help us out quite a lot at no additional cost to you when you buy the game. Anywho, I hope you all enjoyed this video. My name is AntVenom, this video was co-written with Michael McChill, and we bid you all farewell. Thanks so much for watching.